Good afternoon, JR.
Good afternoon, Jesse. Dad.
Our second podcast,
And I'm glad to be here.
Minnesota's mostly peaceful podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like our first one was well received. Congratulations.
I would say so too. Congratulations to yourself.
A lot of good feedback, I'd say.
I'd say so.
Feedback's a gift,
Mm-hmm.
unless it's hurtful. Which I think for the most part everybody kept it on the up and up.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we start off with every episode, we will talk about some celebrities that we've met.
Mm-hmm.
Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. We thought that as we look at the different celebrities, and there's a few that we've come across in between here and there, we'd mix it up.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. We got some feedback that people were like, wow, we don't even know these Twins players, which, how are they friends of ours? Right?
Yeah.
How do we not know who these Twins players are?
Yeah, come on, people.
Right? Although the Twins are terrible right now.
Ooh, yeah.
We'll be looking at this later going, wow, we're so glad they sold the team.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they haven't sold them yet, but
I know.
we look forward to it. So we thought we would kind of rotate through athletes, musicians, actors, actresses, and local celebrities, maybe. We'll get into some of that at some point. So why don't we start off with, JR, we enjoy going to the Comic-Con, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
What do you like about Comic-Cons?
Oh, I like all the weird people meeting the weird people, getting to meet the cool, different people that are there too. There's always a mixture of cool and weird.
Can you be cool and weird?
You can be cool and weird.
Okay.
I think I'd qualify myself as cool and weird.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, comment at the bottom.
Yeah, am I cool and weird, or just cool?
Fair.
Fair.
What else do we cosplay? That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I have not done that.
Have I? I'm trying to think. I think I went as a zombie.
Okay. I don't remember that, but we'll have to check the records.
Yeah.
We'll have someone look it up while we go into this.
Yeah.
So we thought we would talk about one of our favorite Comic-Cons. It was post-hospital stay.
Yep.
So we'll have a special hospital stay episode, I think, at some point.
Yeah, I think we'll have to.
Like halfway point. Talk a little NDE maybe during that special episode.
Yeah.
See if we can't get another NDE expert in here, break things down with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think let's start there.
All right.
And why don't we hit it off right off the bat with Manu Benet or Manu Bennett?
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, he was a pretty exciting guy. And
Yeah.
at that point that we saw him, he had been in Arrow, but most of his fame was during the Spartacus TV series, for sure.
Where he played Crixus.
Crixus, right? And for those of you who may or may not know, Crixus worked with Spartacus, who was one of his generals in the slave rebellion in the old Roman times. And at some point, Crixus split off from Spartacus, and there's some question on whether or not it was part of a strategic ploy to separate their forces, but he was known admirably for fighting and his battle and his strategic wits. So it was a great show. For those of you who haven't seen Spartacus, I highly recommend it.
Oh,
Jerry,
of course.
your thoughts on Spartacus?
Spartacus was an amazing show. They did such a good job, and it was so sad when that actor that played
Oh, the lead
Spartacus,
actor.
the lead
Right.
actor that played Spartacus passed away from cancer, I believe.
Yeah, I think
But
you're right.
they recovered from that, as a show, I think, and they were able to still pull it off with a different guy. And what are the chances you get two amazing lead actors?
Right.
Back
I
to
think
back.
the strong supporting cast was helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Crixus, we ended up, after our first dog, Dizzy, passed away. That was pretty rough time for the family, with you being in the hospital and losing our first pooch at the same time. I was kind of mourning and working through that, and working at the local shelter to get my dog in between taking care of you, who just come home from a pretty long stay. And I brought home a boxer bulldog mix that is a pretty handsome guy.
Yeah, he was. He was a cute dude.
Yeah, he was a big boy.
He was.
His nickname was Big Boy.
Mm-hmm.
We did name him Crixus though, and he was a very valiant warrior.
He was a warrior.
Yeah.
He didn't know what he was going to do when he wanted to fight, but he was ready.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we meet Manu, and he is one of those guys who certainly took a lot of time with us.
Yeah, he certainly did. I remember him staying to talk with me, and he was like, "Hey, dude, you're one of us, man.
Yeah.
You're one of the gladiators." Because I had, I was there with my NG tube, a tube in my nose, and I was, barely wearing my shirt.
Yeah.
I think I had to wear. I was wearing a shirt that was cut in the back, so I could wear it because my spine was all jacked up.
Yeah.
So, I was not in my best shape, I would say.
For sure. You had just...
Pick lines.
Yeah, you had just come out of the hospital post-spinal fusion. So full spinal fusion. So from the neck to the tailbone. And so that wound was still healing. So we had to cut your shirts in the back and kind of put it on like a hospital gown. So sometimes that didn't always stay on. And then you certainly had some battle wounds about you. And he wanted to make sure to spend some extra time talking with you and let everybody know, pause the line, I'm going to have a chat with this guy. And it's pretty cool when people choose to do that. And the people in line didn't have a problem with him taking his time either.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, so that was really good, I thought. And we had a good talk about the show. And I think him relating the show to your situation as he got to know you, I thought that was pretty cool too.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that was epic. That meant a lot.
Yeah.
It was great to be like, yeah, you're right. I am like a fucking, sorry, but I am like a gladiator.
Gladiator of sorts,
Yeah.
right? Life gladiator.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool when you can make those connections. So we brought a poster for him to sign, and he signed his name, and then this is Capua, which is where they were holding out.
And
So
he told me I'm never going to sign another poster like this.
yeah, so that was pretty cool for him to give GR a one-off signing. So it's pretty cool.
And he said, "Welcome to the Brotherhood of Gaul."
Yeah,
It says
that's
on
right.
it.
Yeah, that's right. So
And he did the gladiator bro hug.
oh yeah, brought it in. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And that's why we brought up this Twin Cities Con, is because the three celebrities that we'll highlight really took their time to get to know you and have a conversation. So I thought that was pretty cool. The next guy, hopefully, certainly the older crowd's gonna know who this person is.
Yeah,
Maybe the
sure.
younger crowd might not know, but if you don't know, you should certainly Google.
He's the voice of quite a few characters, but
That's fair. So Lou Ferrigno,
yeah.
right? We got to meet Lou Ferrigno, who's a big guy.
Yeah,
Turns out
he is. He
Yeah.
is the Hulk.
he is the Hulk. I can see why they positioned him for that role. So, but Lou Ferrigno, hard of hearing,
Yes,
right?
very.
Very hard of hearing.
Yes.
So,
And-
JR, clarity of speaking, you were just learning to speak again from getting your trach in.
And so we had a bit
How did that go, JR?
So we had a bit of a situation on our hands. My dad became translator between me and Lou Ferrigno because Lou Ferrigno could not hear me. And I could not understand Lou Ferrigno. He talked like a deaf person.
Yeah. It was interesting.
It was.
it was very interesting. But he had a lot to say.
He did.
So
and we had a lot of fun talking about Adventure Time, his character Billy. And yeah, it was a blast getting to hear about how he, really enjoyed the role. And, he did stuff for that Muscular Dystrophy Association. And he was, very proud of that. And I was pretty proud of him for doing that. I think it means a lot that he did that for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, everything he did.
Yeah, it was surprising to me. He actually brought that up.
Yeah, he
his
did.
work in the Muscular Dystrophy Association, not really knowing what your disability was, but
Yeah.
Then we told him that we were a part of the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and kind of things took off from there. Again, he was paused the line and took time to really talk with you. And I think once you guys made that muscular dystrophy connection, you really hit it off. And then it was like, okay, I'm in full translation mode then, because that's like you guys are having not just a hi, how to meet you, what's your name kind of conversation. You guys are having a legit conversation. And I think the other part that was interesting to me was most of the people who were going through there were for Hulk stuff. So when you brought up Adventure Time, he's like, oh no, I get to talk about Adventure Time now.
Yeah.
Which was super cool for him.
Yeah.
So what did you like about his character in Adventure Time?
Oh, Billy was a hero. He was the hero.
Okay.
He was Finn's hero. Finn's the main character of Adventure Time, as many of you may know. And Finn always looked up to Billy because Billy was his idol. And I just loved that whole idea of this guy who's not a hero anymore, but he still got it. He could still fight if he had to, but, he was old and he was passing the torch down to Finn.
Right. That's pretty good. Adventure Time, pretty interesting cartoon.
It is.
You were how old when you started watching Adventure Time?
I was a teenager for sure.
Okay. Yeah, it was one of those shows where I watched it later, and I'm like, dang, I hope Jared wasn't that old when he was watching this, because it's kind of messed up.
It is very messed up.
Yeah. I don't even know what it's about, but it seems to have dark elements in it sometimes.
I mean, I could go down a rabbit hole that I don't think people
Okay, that's fair. So we'll just keep it on the up and up.
Yes.
Lou Ferrigno, which you get a handshake from Lou, and his hand was probably as big as your arm.
Yes.
Yeah. That was, I don't know if you remember it or not, but it was a pretty hefty handshake that you got.
It was quite.
Yeah, good. So you do remember. And the last celebrity that we'll talk about from that Twin Cities Con, just because he was so memorable and kind of a big name, was Michael Rooker.
Yes.
At that time, early in the Walking Dead series.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Tombstone. If you haven't watched Tombstone, the movie, classic guy film.
Mm-hmm.
Although the ladies can like it too, but
Yeah,
I think
of course.
mostly dudes are watching
yeah.
Western films. But Tombstone, classic. He was in that. And then later, after the fact, he wasn't in it at the time we had met him, was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Which, pretty solid role in that too.
Yeah, he did.
And I just saw him, I'm watching the Righteous Gemstones most recent episodes, have him in that as well. So this new season of Righteous Gemstones, which is, he's a pretty funny character in that. But
That's cool.
Yeah. So we walk up to Michael Rooker, and interestingly enough, he didn't have a big line.
He didn't.
Yeah, I think he was kind of off. So people didn't know. They planned for him to have a big line, but he was so far from the rest of them, it was almost like he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So off the beaten path, right?
He really was.
Yeah. So we go up to him, and I think we can swear on YouTube, can't we?
I don't know. I did.
Oh, dang.
But I don't know if
I
I
think
can.
I'm about to again.
Okay.
He's like, what up, fuckers? And we're like, wow, I think we're going to fit in with Michael Rooker here,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah, so yeah.
I thought so. Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, what up, fucker?
Uh-huh.
With Michael Rooker. So yeah, we went right into...
What up, fuckers?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. So we talk about The Walking Dead, which fans.
Oh yeah, he's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Of course.
So we have Merle and Daryl t-shirt we brought with.
Yep.
So far we have Merle autographed on there. So Rooker, his character was Merle. And now we're just waiting for Daryl to get us get a signature of him to complete that t-shirt, right?
For sure.
Yeah, dang. We've been working on that 10 years.
Yeah.
Where the heck's that guy?
Yeah, where is he?
You know? Dang.
He needs to come to Minnesota.
Right. Kind of a ripoff. You know? Dang.
Yeah.
But, so we talked about The Walking Dead. He has both of his hands. So he actually didn't lose a hand. That was just film work.
Yeah.
Right?
Who would have thought?
We were a little disappointed.
No hook or anything.
Yeah. But I thought, again, another celebrity who certainly, granted for him, he didn't have a long line, but it was just like, you know, shooting the shit with Michael Rooker. Took a lot of time and talked about his films and some of his famous roles, and very personable, and took a lot of time asking you about you and your situation. So it's pretty cool when people get to do that.
Yeah, it is really cool. It really is pretty awesome when people take their time to, you know, really get to know you as a person. And I think that helps them be able to, you know, connect with people, you know, connect with their fans. Because I think when you connect to your fans, you know, you get more into your role.
Yeah, I think it helps them do their job. I would imagine that helps them do their job, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about Lou Ferrigno playing a character on a cartoon TV series, right? Of course you're getting paid, but he's actually engaged in what that role is, right? And now he's meeting fans, and it's a whole different kind of audience than I imagine the original Hulk. So it's a different generation altogether for him,
for sure.
right? And then
and you know, you see them as their character in a way.
Right.
And so when they're being seen as that character, I think they can really fulfill that role better.
Right. And then you have them in that role, whether it's a Rooker who's played all sorts of things, or Ferrigno who's also had a myriad of movie or TV roles. And then certainly Manu has been still in movies, right?
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a movie coming out here also. So yeah, for them to kind of give back, but then also engage their fans, I think helps them do their job.
I think so.
Would have been awesome if they maybe got into, do you think Rooker is actually that way, or that's a little bit of his character?
Well, he talked to us about he likes hunting and fishing.
True.
So I think maybe he might be that kind of dude.
Yeah. Good thing Ferrigno wasn't in character.
Smash!
Yeah. Was it Billy or Bobby in Adventure Time?
Billy.
Billy. Okay. He was kind of smashy too.
Yeah, Billy was.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so I think we have Comic-Con this year looking forward to, right? I don't know, you know, those Comic-Cons are pretty interesting. It's like, oh, why would you pay so much money to meet people? And it's artists, you know, I appreciate meeting an artist and seeing what their logic is around what they're doing or what motivates them. I mean, I do it at work or outside of work, so why not meet, you know, some of these people? And, you know, I think the interesting thing of hanging out with you, JR, is sometimes you'll get a little bit of an extra entree maybe because of your disability, but I think when they get to meet you and know you, they're like, oh wait, no, we're gonna hang out with this dude, you know, and kind of forget everybody else, which is pretty legit. So.
Yeah, that is legit, and it, you know, I do feel special when that happens, even though I know, you know, the initial connection is, yeah, let's hang out with
maybe like
guy.
Maybe out obligatory, right,
and then it's like, oh, I can tell that they recognize this guy's legit,
right. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. So. You want to shift gears?
I do.
Let's shift gears and talk about nurses.
All right, should we talk about Mike?
I think before we get to the good news, we should always start with the bad news.
Oh, we should start with the bad news. Okay.
But I don't know that this one is necessarily bad news.
It's news.
It's certainly news. As JR and I traverse and walk people through our myriad of nurse stories, I think the important thing to remember is, everybody's doing this job with care, right? They got into it, they care about people, but it's also a journey, right? Having home care or even care in a hospital situation is it's pretty hectic sometimes,
Yeah.
right? So you never know where people are at in their own lives and how they bring that into their work. So we want to be respectful as we go through the good and the bad of our life with nurses, but certainly the reason we're sharing it with all of you and how we hope you feel like you can make a connection with us is just not everybody knows what the life is like having the level of care that you have. So, but for us, usually we try and have a good attitude about it and a laugh. So this one I don't know about as bad as more of kind of a typical story, but we thought we would get into the Jerry origin story, right?
As many of you know, my family likes to call me Jerry. My uncle, my dad, and my brother.
Yeah, so you've got a nickname outside of JR, just for Junior, Jerry, right?
Yes.
It's like sometimes people hear JR and they think, oh, are they just saying JR wrong? Or, where does this Jerry come from? And sometimes people will ask, but there's actually an incident that you had probably, I want to say maybe you're 8 years oldish, right?
Ooh, I think
Maybe older than that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
It was my third kidney stone.
Was it the third?
Yeah, I had them quite often.
Yeah, so before we get into the Jerry origin story, a little, I guess, medical information as a precursor, right?
Yeah.
So JR was undiagnosed until he was 19. So we tried a lot of different things, right? And they put you on creatinine, coenzyme Q10, prednisone, and some other vitamins. But it was they were trying to keep you on the up and up with some supplementals, right? And that creatinine didn't help with you. You don't have the normal water intake. So when you're mixing all of that stuff to dilute it and get it through your system, ended up being a little bit of a problem. So as you alluded to, kidney stones,
Yes.
right? Terrible.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
This was probably my worst one.
Well, that's because you don't have the normal style of a kidney stone either.
No, I got the long
Stagerhorn.
Stagerhorn. Okay.
Yeah. So Stagerhorn, like deer antlers.
Yeah.
Right? Or bull antlers. Is it a bull antler? Bullhorn.
Yeah.
Bullhorn.
Yeah, I would say.
It's the same. Okay.
I get it. The audience knows.
Thank you. Right? I corrected myself.
Yeah, you didn't need to. I knew what a bull antler was.
Okay. Well, But the idea is deer antler,
Yeah.
Stagerhorn, pointy, not a circle, not a rock, but pointy.
Yes.
And many of them.
Yes.
So it's essentially crystallized in your kidneys.
Yes.
So they had to fill you full of IV fluids and get those bad boys passed.
Yeah.
But kidney
I peed 'em
stones.
out.
Yeah, painful. Yeah, fire. So I too am a kidney stone survivor. A couple of hospital visits for myself with those bad boys. But yeah, so you're in pain, right? Sharp pain.
Terrible sharp pain back in
Terrible.
my kidneys.
Yeah, don't know. Well, it's kind of everywhere. It radiates everywhere.
It does,
Yeah,
but
and it
I
does
could
feel like you're stabbed.
Yeah.
Like backstabbed.
Yeah, like I
right?
got stabbed in the back, and now the rest of me hurts.
So we go to the hospital, Mercy Hospital, which props to Mercy. We know some people there.
Yeah, right.
And in general, we like Mercy. But also, just like many other jobs. You never know what you're gonna get when you walk in the door. So they get you in there, and your nurse is probably 70 years old. And we've been in enough situations where Jared and I already know, we're kind of looking at each other like, well,
This is what we got.
yep, buckle up, buddy boy. We'll see how this goes. Which I commend her. She was still working, but definitely not exaggerating that this was someone who was probably past retirement age. And I'm thinking they're, in theory, giving the easy cases to her, but hard of hearing.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah, well, you assume so, but you know so,
Yeah.
right? So we're in there, and has a hard time reading your ID bracelet.
Might be hard of sight,
Hard of sight.
hard of seeing. I don't know what you say.
And then trying to communicate wanted to get one of those, like, the
Bullhorn.
horn, well, not a bullhorn, like one of those cornucopias or something
Oh,
to
yeah.
like get that,
Yeah.
get the
Get the ear horn.
right, get that going, right?
Mhm.
Because the nurse couldn't hear us,
Nope.
and it'd be like, all right, what's your name? Can't read it, and then we're telling her your name,
Yeah.
and it was JR. Jesse goes by JR, and she goes, oh, okay, Jerry. We're like, JR. All right, Jerry. And Chase is there.
Yes.
He's with us. He's also part of the, like, no, JR. And she's like, okay, Jerry, we're gonna how about you want a warm blanket, Jerry? And there you go. There's Jerry. So she did get you a warm blanket.
She also got me a stuffed animal.
Stuffed animal.
Which,
I don't know that she wasn't certain whether you are a boy or a girl. That happens sometimes.
it does.
I don't know why. You have a
I
beard.
have a beard and it
Now you
still
do.
happens.
It's still, right? You never know these days.
That's true.
So no one wants to put a label on it, but I'm pretty safe to say that beard says man.
Yes.
So Jerry, what else do you remember about that nurse in that hospital stay?
I remember also about that hospital stay that we made little friends for the whole hospital. And they were gloves that we blew up.
Yeah, a little waste incurred. I feel like our insurance covered it.
Waste.
Not to us, it wasn't waste.
Yeah, I'm like, excuse you.
I'm no balloon artist, but I feel like with our time in the hospitals, we've kind of mastered the different things you can do with gloves and
Look,
and
it's
balloons.
a Stegosaurus.
Yeah, right. That's right off the bat.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's
We've
a
got
turkey.
Stegosaurus.
It's a turkey.
Right. That's a solid one.
Yeah, that's a solid one.
Peacock.
Peacock. Yeah, of course.
Another
It's
classic.
another classic balloon.
Glove balloon.
Yeah.
Character for sure. Yeah. Porcupine.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it.
Yeah. But you can't nail the
No. You have to use tape to put them
tape.
up. Yeah, tape them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We also get good at the update boards where it's like, what's your doctor?
Mhm.
You know, what pain are you at? It's kind of a Mad Lib of sorts,
It really
right?
is.
You get to fill in the blanks, but we don't always fill in the blanks appropriately, do we?
No.
Like doctor, we come up with different
Yeah.
Dr. Zhivago or
Like
Dr. Doom.
Frankenstein.
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom is always
He's
a
a
good one.
classic, right? Dr. Venture.
Oh, yes. Dr. Finkelstein is another good one.
Classic.
That's a classic. That's another one of my names online.
Nurse Ratchet.
Oh, yeah, that's always a good one.
Yeah. So, pain levels. Sometimes we don't
Ow.
use. Ow. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
This hurts.
True. As
Holy
you go
shit.
I think as you go towards like the less pain, it's dischargeable, so they know we're ready to get out of here.
Yeah, ready to leave.
For sure. So yeah, the Jerry origin story. I hope people enjoyed, and you get a few hey Jerrys out there out in the wild. That'd be pretty nice, don't you think? Let's talk a little bit about a good nurse story. Let's recognize one of your nurses of the past, right?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one.
All right, so who are you going to talk about today in this episode?
About Nurse Mike.
Nurse Mike, okay. He was a good one.
Yeah, he was.
So this was a nurse when you were still at home. He was a nurse while you were you out of high school yet?
I don't know. I think it was summer.
Okay, summer. Okay, so yeah, tell us a little bit about Mike.
Oh, Mike's an excellent dude. Mike was a lot of fun too. I remember I first met him. He was. This isn't the best beginning thing to be like. He's an awesome dude, but he had his army tags because he was in the not army,
Air Force.
Air Force, and I remember we were like, "Oh, cool, you're in the Air Force," and he starts out by being like, "Well, I was discharged," and I was like, "Oh, okay, what happened?" And he didn't really say ever, but yeah. So it's like, why would you wear the tags if?
A lot of people get discharged though.
Oh, really?
Like honorably discharged.
He wasn't though.
Wow, dang! Kind of ratting out Mike here
Am I?
on your podcast. Yeah, dang.
Dang.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can't imagine that it was not an honorable discharge.
Is that what the only options are? Honorable and dishonorable?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, well, it wasn't dishonorable.
Yeah, dang.
He said he talked his way out of it.
Okay, well, that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
I could see getting your way out of it. He was an important part of the support network.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of those nurses that your supplies were always on point. And I think the telltale sign of a great nurse is getting you out and about.
Yeah.
Right? Like through all of this, the hardest thing is, there's the care aspect of like all the stuff that you have going on. But for me to have relief in that there's someone else helping to get you out into the community has been kind of, that to me is a part of what makes a great nurse. And he certainly did that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I just like to say, to me, Nurse Mike is always a friend. So, I have a hard time separating him as, professional Nurse Mike. And to me, I'm just bullshitting about one of my friends,
Sure.
So, yeah, he was a great dude. He always cared about, he had lots of opportunities to, do other jobs, but he chose to be a nurse with me, He could have worked in a hospital and, he could have worked, he had opportunities to work with a helicopter service that went around the United States and, they paid big money, but he thought most of his joy was brought to him, providing services to people that he could face-to-face, explore the world with, so to speak. And me and him sure explored Minnesota, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we would do is we'd go to the casino quite often.
Yeah.
Play some blackjack, which was always fun. What we talked about last episode was Butters. And I remember we would call up Butters and tell Butters we're going to do nurse report in the parking lot of the casino. And Butters would be like, okay, so you meet us at the parking lot of the casino and we do report there.
So would Butters then drive you, and then would Mike drive the Butters mobile?
We would
back?
drive together back.
Oh, okay.
So he would drive his car, do report, and then drive behind Mike.
I see.
And then we'd park in the driveway, and then we'd quick switch.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You were good at blackjack back then.
I was. I don't know what happened.
I don't know either, but now I give you $20 and it's like, that's going out the window. Yeah. Yeah, he, very caring person. We live or my home, where you were at the time, your old home, was we've got wetlands behind us and kind of a protected nature area. So occasionally we'll get a field mouse in the house during the winter time. It's normal, and usually I set traps and get rid of them that way. And Mike was setting live traps, and we would have these tiny little mice, and he would catch them and let them out. It was like basically just like letting them out the back door. And we're like, bro, that mouse is just they're small and they're gonna just find his way back in. And he's like, no,
I'll catch it.
I'll catch it. It's okay. And I'm like, but you're not here all the time. So, definitely caring even of the smallest of friends.
Yes.
Right?
Another cool thing that we would do is play video games all night long.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I could go on and on about Rainbow Six Siege and our hijinks with that. But one of the cool things I remember is we do, those energy drinks that would come with double XP, and we drink up crazy amounts of energy drinks. And I don't know why I get kidney stones.
Yeah, you thought it was the vitamins. At least that's what they told me.
That's what they told you.
Yeah, right. Dang, who knew?
Thinking,
who knew it was all these?
XP.
Yeah. Wow.
But I remember the last one we did was Battlefield, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's really good at games, and I'm pretty good myself, or at least I was, and yeah, we'd have a lot of fun with that. Another cool thing about Mike was he was pretty good at following instructions, like to a T. He would have made a great soldier,
Yeah, right.
because he could follow instructions perfectly. And once he got what I was saying, we were on a roll. That's one of the things about needing nurses, is that if you can get one that can follow your instructions to a T, it's like they're your hands and you're the mind of the operation, and your It's kind of like in Pacific Rim when they get in those like armor suits,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a co-op, let's figure this out type business. And one of the things that we would do where we got to experience that was there was at Dave & Buster's, we played this game called Slam a Winner. Where you
Slam a Winner.
Slam a Winner.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's Slam a Winners too many anymore, because at least at the Dave & Buster's near me, they had to get rid of the machine.
Wow.
Because we won a PlayStation 4.
Wow.
By giving jackpots back to back to back. Because I knew how to beat the machine. And I could tell him how. And I can tell you how too. But I won't.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. But we did Slam Winner. And he actually put his own money down for Dave & Buster's. That was his own paycheck that he would pay for us to do Dave & Buster's. He's like, well, I'm playing the game. I'm like, yeah, but you're playing it for me, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So he's like, yeah, but I'm playing the game. I'm like, yeah, okay, dude, that's cool with me.
Yeah.
And so, we got a PlayStation, and I think we came out even selling it. We ended up with the same amount of money that we put in. But it was still really cool that, hey, we got to play a game we enjoyed, become experts at it, literally.
Right.
And, we were so good that we got jackpots so often that the machine would glitch and give us more jackpots than we would land. Because I don't think it was meant to get that many jackpots in a row.
Wow. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And I think you bring up a good point about Pacific Rim, as you call it, which Google that one later. But it's a mech suit, essentially, that a person can go into to fight other monsters. But having that ears or hands or eyes or movement is key, right? Like you definitely need that. So getting someone that works well with you is really important. And I think, I look at the home nursing, and it's competitive. Nursing's competitive, right? There's so many jobs. It's a industry where there's a job shortage. So, certainly there's a lot of opportunities where people can work. And when you get a good nurse, like keeping that good nurse super hard to do because there is a lot of competition for the best nurses. So having one that sticks with you and you can have that enjoyment. A lot of the nurses that we'll talk about in these, multiple episodes are ones that they made a decision. And I think one of the coolest things that I've seen is nurses who then go into a hospital or go into another area, and really what they're doing is choosing to pick up shifts or work overtime because they do care or understand some of the limitations that you have in a home care setting. So for people who take the extra time to, even fill in a shift or once a month are going to work in the home environment, like props to you guys, because families need it. But on the flip side of that is, I think young nurses right out of college, usually they're going to find guys like you who, there's the nursing part of it, which in general, I'd say you're a pretty easy case. But getting out and doing fun stuff, right? Like, you can go be a nurse for someone and you're going to concerts, you're going to baseball games, to Comic-Cons, whatever it is. Now, when you play Warhammer or something like that, that's a lot of stretching and maybe too much for my bones, but...
I got, people don't always enjoy Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, right? That's kind of can be a complicated, confusing game, but so... before we get off of Mike, also, you guys would do Black Friday shopping.
Oh, yeah.
They'd be like, no, we need the van. Yeah, we certainly need the van. And then Killian would go with you guys too. So he loved Nurse Mike also. So for him to, I'm like, should I send my little guy out there? But Killian would rather go with you guys and do your fun stuff than, I was probably out with Nan or whoever, right? Doing boring stuff. But
One time we were out shopping and Nurse Mike grabbed a flower off one of the shelves and gave it to Killian to give to a cute girl. Killian gave it to her and, we were all laughing and she said, oh, thank you. Walked away and then we were called. You did not purchase said flower. So we had to go find her before she walked out of the store with it so we could buy it.
You're basically stalking a little girl in a store.
Yes, in a mall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. How'd that go?
We found her.
No one was in prison, so I guess no harm, no foul.
It wasn't another little girl.
Oh,
it was a woman.
Okay.
That we were stalking.
Oh yeah, nice. Okay.
At least it's better than, a child.
Maybe we should end this story.
Okay.
Okay. There was something that we wanted to talk about today around current events.
Yeah.
Something pretty interesting.
It is pretty fascinating.
And I think it's related to, in some fashion, even your disability.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah. So on the Joe Rogan podcast, he had Colossal Biosciences
Ben Lamb
come on to talk about what, Jer?
Talk about the de-extinction.
Yeah, de-extinction. Now, we've seen that movie. It's
called Jurassic Park.
And that didn't work out.
It did not.
Some people were killed in that.
Yes, but they think they're taking the steps necessary to avoid that.
I feel like they thought they took the steps necessary to avoid that in Jurassic Park too. But there is a company that's leveraging, it's amazing, ever since they mapped the human genome, you were able to get a diagnosis. At some point we'll have Alexis on, I think, and we'll talk about our trip to Paris where we were part of a LMNA CMD conference out in Paris. And this was more than 10 years ago. And we learned about CRISPR technology. And at the time, it was so far-fetched science fiction that they could edit genes of an embryo, human or otherwise, and like change its makeup. Like, that's crazy talk.
It really is.
And then flash forward only 10 years, and here we are. They're taking current animal DNA that they've mapped and finding where they're similar enough to an extinct species that they can take the rest of it, they take the extinct DNA out of old skulls or bones or whatever else that they've been able to find, and map the rest of it, putting this puzzle together, and then essentially make and de-extinct an animal. And they've done that.
Yeah.
With
pretty cool. They made dire wolves.
Dire wolves. So they took, was it a great northern wolf?
Mm-hmm.
And mixed that with the dire wolf DNA. And now you've got a de-extincted dire wolf.
Yeah.
Which are super cute, by the way.
Oh, yeah. They're
For
like
now.
the most, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they named it Romulus and Remus, right?
Yep, Remus, Romulus, and then there's a third one.
Khaleesi.
Yeah. Yeah, Peter Jackson and who's the Game of Thrones?
George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, right. They're investors in the company, but
Mm-hmm.
man, they're bringing stuff back.
They really are. They're working on the thylacine tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a dog tiger.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a tiger at all,
No.
but it's got a pouch.
And the thought is with the wolves, and we've watched probably our fair share of history, nature, Discovery Channel stuff, right? They really can modify the ecosystem, and usually it's for the better. So wolves are an important part of the ecosystem, and the intent of their work is to really help bring back ecosystems, which it's kind of interesting to be like, well, this animal didn't survive, it got extinct, but usually it's maybe not through impact of its own. So I don't know, I think
It's not really its failure in being a dire wolf, it's more of its mankind's
like impact of what that is. Well, you gotta eat lunch,
I
Jared.
do, and I need a reminder to let everyone know that.
That's nice. So, as you were saying, in these dire wolves,
I don't remember what I was saying.
wow, dang, you're like, no, dang, now
Yeah,
I'm
now I
hungry.
need lunch.
Yeah, wow, no, well, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah. So with the dire wolves, what I was gonna say was they're gonna make red wolves, I think. They're putting those in places.
And those are in North Carolina now, right?
And the ones that they can make are closer related to red wolves than the ones that there are now.
Yeah, because usually they'll get mixed up with coyotes, those darn coyotes, right? And kind of delineate the lineage, right?
But then my question is, doesn't that make a red wolf more of a coyote than a red wolf? If that's what it is naturally?
No, because they weren't originally coyotes, but now they're watering down into coyotes.
Yeah.
The woolly mammoth, they think that they can put them where we have the permafrost, and that'll actually help with some of the climate potential issues that we've got.
Yeah.
And really build that permafrost back up in some way. I don't get like by stomping around, who knows? But
they look like they're ready for the cold. So
yeah,
maybe it'll inspire the frost to come back.
I don't know either. They made woolly mice.
Those are adorable.
Yeah, which that's pretty fun. Right?
They named it Chip.
Yeah, I like it. Which got me to thinking, should we be doing this?
I think we should.
Yeah?
I think it's a valid discussion, and I'm ready.
You're ready to make things?
I'm ready to make things.
What are you going to make, Jared?
I think... So, one of the things they talked about was all the things that they're not going to do.
Okay.
I think there needs to be a company that does those things.
That does the things that they don't want to do?
Yeah.
Because there's probably danger?
Yeah.
Oh, so you want to be Jurassic Park?
I do.
Okay,
We'll do it right, though.
We'll do it right, though. Yeah. That's usually how most things end up even worse. Is like, no, we're smarter than those last guys. We're gonna do it
That
different.
was a movie though. That was fictional.
Well,
Should we really inspire, should we really be basing our fictional stories, stopping that from inspiring science?
I think
because I think it's really odd that we're like not going to do something because a fictional movie says it's a bad idea.
Yeah, but it seems like that's actually a realistic expectation of how things would go. Well, here's the good news is we don't have dinosaur DNA.
It's true because it melts or
So,
something.
Yeah, it degrades over time. So, boom, you can't make dinosaurs.
Well, I'm not trying to make dinosaurs. I want to make Gigantopithecus.
What's a Gigantopithecus?
It is the largest ape to have ever lived.
That's even worse, King Kong.
I think, dude.
Do they have the DNA for it?
I don't know.
Yeah. Sounds like no. Sounds like no. I'm happy
why
about
wouldn't
that.
they?
Well, they don't have dinosaur DNA. When was this thing?
11,000 years ago?
Oh,
That's
man.
not that long.
Bummer. They probably could.
I think they could.
Yeah.
When I was researching, it was one of those animals that was in like the top 10 most likely animals or like something.
Wow. Here's me thinking like, oh, we can bring some fish back. Like
No,
some good
I'm
eating
bringing back
fish
a
or
giant
something.
ape.
Yeah. Okay. What good is the giant ape gonna do?
Well, we could study it.
For what? It looks like other apes, just gianter.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I'm not taking your science.
You're not taking my science.
I don't want to make things that look cool because that's how things go bad. The cooler they look, I think they look cool because of the damage they can do.
Oh.
So
That is why they look cool.
I'm gonna be out on that.
I'm gonna agree. That is why they look cool.
Yeah, here's me thinking like fish and other fruits and stuff.
Yeah, my other thing that I came up with is the Titanoboa.
Okay, that sounds like a giant snake.
It is.
We already have giant snakes that seem to be like
It's
a bad
even bigger.
idea.
But it would be with the gorilla. That's why I brought it up.
No,
Is
we're
it
not
would be
doing.
with the gorilla.
We're not doing King Kong, Godzilla,
We're not doing
V.
fight.
No, we're not. It's not BattleBots. It's not.
Why can't it be?
We're trying to like restore ecosystems, not create
What did you expect me to come to you
like
with?
battle world. Wow, I thought, okay, what help would we be here?
No, for real though, I do think bringing back those whales would be cool and beneficial to the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Because we've taken out so many whales.
Right.
And whales are cool and they talk.
And there's some that would be in areas where really they've impacted people's ability to live by overfishing a lot of the fish or whales. So that to me is, if you can somehow take care of something that was overdone and help to bring that back for like a good purpose versus like evil giant apes and like dinosaur snakes for JR's amusement, it does seem like that would be a good option. So what about the crazy thing to me that I was thinking about, and they had a little bit of an issue in China where a guy was modified or did some gene editing, and the way that the story reads, I believe, is the parents had HIV, so they were editing the genes so that it was like HIV resistant, if you will. But then, there was rumors around where they like modifying intelligence.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little sketchy.
Yeah, like what are all the switches and levers that you're pulling, right?
When you get to that point, it's like you might as well edit the intelligence, right? You're putting that money down.
Yeah, but now you're playing, like, I don't know, that's playing with fire, in my opinion. Even fixing, it's like, this is your path, right? Having this disability, or who knows, like all the myriad of things that I have going on, right? Like,
well, what if your path, sorry?
No, go ahead.
What if your path is to be a genetic?
Edited. Instead of being a genetic mutation like you are, you're like a genetic mutation that was modified?
Because I think if God, I believe in theistic evolution. Okay, I don't know if we want to get into that, but I do. And so because of that, I think if God can create evolution, why couldn't he create a person through science?
So because he created us with the ability to modify us. So have at it, bros.
Yeah.
That is, I feel like, a slippery slope. Because what about then with AI? You could create like a super beast. We're really at the cusp of being able to create like super beings. That's kind of crazy.
We already are, I'm sure.
Dang.
Don't you think?
I hope not. That seems kind of
What's
sus.
stopping?
Terminator movie.
So you think Terminator movie's stopping China?
I think we're on the
You
cusp
think China's
of...
not doing it already?
Yeah.
You think they care about Terminator movie?
Dude, we're just as bad as China, though.
Okay,
I
so
mean-
do you think we're scared of Terminator movie?
We should be.
Yeah, but are we?
No. We're actively Terminatoring and Jurassic Parking.
Yeah.
Did these people not watch these films?
Like I said, though, I mean,
I guess. But it's kind of like nukes, you know?
yeah.
Like, sentient robots, I feel, can take some of the drudge of the labor that we don't want to do. That allows us probably to work less. You know, if we figure out the economics of all of that so that it's done equitably. But we have to work. I think it's part of, like, it gives us something. But I don't know that we have to work as much as what people do end up working. So, I mean, if we could solve nursing shortage by dudes who could drive you around or flip-flop you in and out, that would be pretty fire.
Some cool robot dudes.
Yeah, making like your den. That'd be pretty sweet.
I would love a robot helper.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So we'll start the GoFundMe for JR's Optimus. What would you name your Optimus?
Optimus.
Optimus.
Prime.
Okay, good, clearly. There was a few different primes though, right?
Yeah, but this one would be Optimus.
Yeah, I'd paint mine to be like Rodimus Prime.
Oh.
My prime's gonna be better than yours.
Oh.
Actually,
I gotta come up with a better.
it's expensive, so
I'm more
mine would
likely.
probably be yours.
Yeah.
Crap. So yeah, I think it'd be interesting. All of these medicines that are even coming out or gene editing that they're doing now, what if they could edit you? Would you let them?
Oh yeah.
Would you?
I don't know if I would like that, but we'd find out.
Yeah. Would you
What
try
else
it?
do I got going on?
I don't know.
You know?
What if it was risky?
It depends on what the risks are.
Death.
Yeah, I'd risk it.
What would you want it to accomplish though? Like edit you to be able to just get what? 20% function back?
No, if it's death, risking death, it'd have to be a lot.
Like half?
50.
We're not talking like running around, are we?
No, I don't even want to run around.
It is kind of
I'm pretty
overrated.
lazy. I'd like
At
to
this
be
point?
where I was at like 13.
Okay, so pre-spinal fusion.
Yeah.
So able to like flex. Yeah.
And move my
And you had
hands
pretty
around.
good hand movement. You were drawing then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
Being
like
able
to be
to
able to
draw
draw again.
be cool.
That's where I'd be at.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Well, I think it's more likely that we get you a robot than
Mhm.
we edit your genes. I think you
Yeah.
miss but who knows?
I mean, I think the younger generation,
100%.
They are.
It's going to happen.
I mean, when we did that stuff with the NBA, they were talking about what they were doing with giving that dude, that kid, that spinal injection things. Oh, that was crazy. He's like, you know.
He's staving off his muscular atrophy, which is pretty fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much hope that's out there. So, yeah, you know what? Let's stay away from the Gigantopithecus and focus that effort on like saving the young dudes, right? The young peeps.
What do you think about the morals of doing that?
I think we need to do it. I mean, you have so much illness out there. You know, I think it's a much better way than like getting rid of getting rid of dudes,
Yeah.
you know.
If we can fix dudes before they're born, that's where we really need to, because I mean, sorry dudes that are already born, but I don't know.
Yeah. But you want to minimize pain, right? Like,
yeah. I think we need to focus our efforts on preventing the disease from growing.
Yeah. And the earlier you can do it, the better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's interesting, and I think probably a good transition. You brought up meeting a young fellow, Jordan, I think is his name.
Yeah.
We were recently at boot camp,
Mm-hmm.
but it was for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So we went and met with a bunch of firefighters as they get ready for the year and all of their fill the boot activities here in the Midwest. So we were able to go and share your story and or share our story.
Yeah.
And what the impact the Muscular Dystrophy Association has had for us, which we'll do a spiel, I think, sometime on what they do for us.
Yeah. I think
whether it's the research, the camp, the support group, the networking has been really great. But man, our firefighters are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That they take time to volunteer in addition to the job that they have.
Fires.
Yeah, right. That so to think that they take the time to do this type of work with in the longest standing
75
group.
years?
Yeah, I think it was like 75 years, right? Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we were there to help let them know that where their support is going and to talk about the advances. So now you're one of the old guys in the thing.
Yeah.
And so they'll have this young guy come in who's talking about how the medicine's helping them. And you're talking about like, hey, I used to be that young guy. And what we were advocating for back then is now helping this dude.
Yeah.
You know, so think someday that kid will be where you're at and they're like editing genes or who knows what.
Yeah, right.
Like mind blown, right? So yeah, we did that. We're gonna see now, for those of you who don't know, fill the boot. Well, I think the ladies know what fill the boot is, right?
Yeah.
The ladies of our audience, they know that firefighters, usually it's a few days during the week or on the weekends are out in roads with their boots and their gear, collecting money for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. And you stop, give them a couple bucks, and it ends up really totaling to be quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Numbers are down since COVID, but I think they're getting more departments engaged in doing that work, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, I'm glad that we're a part of that.
I think eventually they'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah, to the pre-COVID numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're gaining a lot of momentum. So yeah, we're out there helping our firefighters again. I like that. It's fun.
Yeah, me too.
But we can't be in the roads anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insurance.
I know, rules.
Lame.
Right? I'm like, well, fine, we'll go down our own road or whatever. Like, they're like, oh, you can handle waters. Psh. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll see about
Yeah,
that.
we'll handle waters with the hose.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, our job is to block roads.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what we do.
Look at me. I look like a roadblock.
You're a roadblock. Classic roadblock.
Right? I really
am. We've got some other exciting news, JR.
Okay.
And wow, you're like, I don't remember this exciting news. I think you'll know when I remind you that we have this exciting news. So we had a lot of feedback about the MDA Gala, and I think people are very supportive of the gala, but people are more excited because of the access it gives them for the muscle walk. So we've decided for now to put gala on hold and for us to put our efforts into muscle walk, because then really our whole community can join us in that effort. So for those of you who don't remember, Jerry used to design shirts. We would sell those shirts, and those proceeds from the shirts would then go to our muscle walk team, and we would make some pretty good donations through that. And then in September, and actually this year's date is September 13th at Wolf Park. I think it's in St. Louis Park. I'll get back on that. 9 in the morning. September 13th is the date at Wolf Park. is the muscle walk, so our friends and family can join us.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I think we'll spend some time, create another sweet JR shirt design.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll make some cool gear. We'll get that out there for people to purchase if they're interested in getting something and making a donation. So I mean, the proceeds then go to that, or you can we'll create a team page and you can just make a donation if you're so inclined. But in our podcast, we'll be talking about the great things that the MDA does for us, but a little bit more about your journey. So anything else you wanna talk around to JR here? You want to maybe finish with something you're thankful for, or some gratitude thought?
So, I think it's really important that people, remember to be grateful every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really valuable to know what there is. We've got you're alive.
Mm-hmm.
And just being is such a reward. And I think it's also important to express gratitude to different people. Because, the more that you're able to express gratitude, the more you're able to express gratitude, the more you're able to, sorry, I lost my train of thought. The more you're able to express gratitude, then you're able to, let people join in on what you're doing. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Sure.
Like, the more you're able to express your gratitude, the more people are able to connect with you.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it seems like maybe I'm having a bad day, someone else is having a worse day, and it's easy to not show thanks.
Yeah.
To get caught up in whatever you're caught up in. But we're all people right here trying to do good stuff and be good to each other, or we should be, right? And to take time to be thankful, no matter what your situation is gonna pass that along to someone else and give them support too. So you can always find something that you're thankful for. Yeah. What are you thankful for this week?
I'm thankful for a lot of things, but I've been really thankful for some of my friends.
Okay.
I'm really thankful for Butters and Andy and David, and I'm not gonna remember all my friends' names because
Wow, you have so many.
I have so many.
Wow, I have like 3. Thanks.
Okay. Well,
Wow.
Yeah.
And now there's like 3 people out there being like, oh, is he gonna name me? Yeah, no, sorry. But kidding aside, yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for all my friends. I've been talking to a lot of different people this week. A lot of people saying, they want to come by, and I've got one friend coming over this afternoon, and this week Andy's gonna come by, and so it should be good. This afternoon I'll hang out with Shannon, and this week I'll hang out with Andy, so it'll be cool. And I hang out with David every week, and it'll be good to talk cards with those guys. And I'm really thankful that I live with someone that is so into Magic as much as I am.
Yeah,
and
pretty
of
cool.
course Andy thinks he invented the game for me.
Yeah, well,
he thinks he introduced me to it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Andy, I've been playing Magic since before you even heard of it.
That's funny.
It is funny.
Classic Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm thankful for the getting connected back into Phil to Boot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
thankful for that.
doing that stuff is pretty fun.
It is.
Right? Like getting out in the community, getting things going, especially when now, it seems so distant when you were a little guy, like, oh, a cure. And then people think, well, where am I putting this money towards? But for me, just to be engaged even outside the money piece with the people, and to see these families that are early in their time. And I go back to 20 plus years ago when it was so scary, not knowing what the future held, right? And it's to see that the work that we're doing and that our community and supporting us is helping do, that these families have it easier. Man, I am so thankful for that. Because I remember how hard it was and how sad it was and lonely it was. in so many things without having that support group. And just to see like how beefed up that is right now. And, you know, COVID took a chunk out of stuff. So economy's rough, but hopefully coming back here. So I think hopefully, you know, we can start to get some momentum there. But I've been thankful for people who've supported us in the past and for us to be part of that community again. So great podcast, Jer.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we've got some stopping points along the way in here. So if you feel like it's a little long, you can just pause some spots in there, and we'll continue to work on our format. And I'm actually taking a podcast class this summer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, to improve our production. So even though you're the retired one, I'm the one who's going to class. So we'll cover that in another episode.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's right. All right, take care, y'all.
Bye.